Welcome in everyone to this workshop. I am Jen Hoy and this is Luke Bunder. We are honestly so grateful to be here with you. We love helping young student athletes who are struggling with performance anxiety and also those who just want to perform better with more confidence, more power, more consistency, and also more joy in their lives. Like while you're accomplishing your great goals, like you want to feel good, right? You want to feel joyful. And so that's something that we're really, really passionate about. So welcome to all of you athletes and parents here on the call. Today's workshop is how to turn performance anxiety into high performance, part 1 of 10, the seeds of change. So tonight's workshop is 1 hour. We'll do our absolute best to keep it within that window. And Coach Luke is going to be teaching most of this workshop. So I will hand it over to him.
Yeah, thanks everyone for spending part of your Sunday with us. You've got nothing else better to do than spend your time with us. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we're really going to try to deliver as best we can here today and really give you an understanding of, I want to share with you our understanding of performance anxiety from our perspective, from working with so many student athletes. And I guess you could also say this reflects on confidence as well in many student athletes. So and today's about the seeds of change. So what begins the seeds of change? So today is really just about planting some seeds of change into your student athlete and to some of the adults. And also we want to provide you something that you can give, one, a better understanding of performance anxiety, and two, a few resources as to support your child with performance anxiety. So what we're going to do is jump into the presentation here we've set up. All right, can everyone see that okay? Thumbs up. Beautiful. All right, so.
And by the way, everyone, you can always drag Luke's speaker video to be larger. If you click on like the line between him and the slide, you can drag it to the left and make his video larger to be equal to the side of the slide. So it's a bit more engaging for you if you'd like.
All right, so this year we're actually going to have a bunch of workshops, and you're invited to all of them. We've put together a series of workshops this year to really just give as much as we can to people, to really help as much as we can alongside the work we do with student athletes. So these are some of the workshops we'll be doing this year. Yeah, and as I said, come along to any of them. We'd love you to join. So I'll let you take this slide, Jen.
Yeah, so what creates or what supports a young student athlete to really, really thrive in all areas? So not just like to accomplish what they want, but to, do so with like the most joy, the most power, the most confidence, the most mental and emotional like resilience. And so my take on that from my personal experience of having been in your student athletes, or for the student athletes on the call, having been in your shoes, as well as throughout my experience of playing D1 and at up through the pro level and beyond, I found that there are 6 pillars that really help a young student athlete to thrive. And they are organization and time management, goal setting and plan creation, technical skill and tactical IQ specific to your sport and your position, so you can really become the best athlete that you can be, mental and emotional resilience. And so we're going to be diving into that pillar today with this performance anxiety seeds of change topic. The 5th pillar is nutrition and hydration. So that nutrition education, so a young person knows how to fuel their body, not only to recover as best they can and perform as best they can, but also, in my belief, it helps to support a young person when they learn these habits. It helps them to go on to live a really healthy life long term when they're fueling their body with high quality nutrition. And then the sixth pillar is social skills and leadership. So like those social skills and communication skills, they're a muscle, just like going to the gym, right? Just like training our bicep. Our social skills, our leadership skills, our communication skills, they're muscles too. And they just need to be trained to get strengthened. So these are the 6 pillars that we are so passionate about teaching at the Evolving Athlete Academy. And we can't wait to dive into the mental emotional resilience one right now.
And these pillars, they rest on top of genuine desire or a motivation to work and work ethic and time. And I can speak from experience. One of the young students on this call has massive desire and incredible work ethic, and it pays off. It really does. So today's on mental emotional resilience. We're in the pillar, and these are the pieces we teach at the Evolving Athlete Academy. We teach motivation, self-awareness, self-esteem, growth mindset, how to become gloriously fallible, which we'll dive into today, critical thinking, state management, mindfulness, and genuine confidence. And today we're planting the seeds of desire, self-awareness, growth mindset, how to become gloriously fallible, and what even that does that mean, really? So how do we turn performance anxiety into high performance? So turning performance anxiety into high performance happens in steps and stages, just like carving a statue. I love this. I love a statue of a person carving themselves out. It's a very, very good metaphor. So the seeds of change. So today, the seeds of change, we've got seed 1, belief. Belief that change is possible. Belief that you can change. Belief that you can overcome whatever it is that you're facing, or your belief that your student athlete can overcome whatever it is they're facing. Jen and I see, if someone has a fixed mindset, so the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, fixed mindset doesn't believe that they can change. And as you're going to find out in a moment when we dive into the belief part, unfortunately, our brains are programmed to make belief self-fulfilling. And that's why a fixed mindset is quite dangerous. Seed 2 is self-awareness. Seed 3, desire, motivation. Seed 4, planting the seed to become gloriously fallible. And you're going to learn more about that soon. So seed 1. So a belief is a thought that has been confirmed enough times to become a person's truth, right? So essentially that's what a belief is. So there are strongly held beliefs, half-held beliefs, doubtful beliefs, and everything in between. So we all have some beliefs, that are strong. That's a fact. That's a fact. And then someone else doesn't believe it, but I believe it. And then we have beliefs that we used to believe, but we don't believe anymore, right? So beliefs are actually self-fulfilling, which means that when we believe something, our brains are programmed to seek evidence for that as truth, even if it's not necessarily the quote unquote truth, because, what is the capital T truth or anything? And as a child, here's some examples. As a child, I truly believed in Santa Claus. And on Christmas, I would swear to you that I could hear him. And I even thought I saw him in the sky one time. In my teens, I believed that I wasn't good enough to be loved. I truly believed this. And it was an unconscious belief, this one. It wasn't like I wasn't walking around saying it, but it was something that I truly believed inside. And my brain found evidence for this too. And this belief caused me a lot of suffering. And of course, it wasn't true. I also believed that I could become one of the best boxers in Australia, and I did this. But I also believed that my worth as a human being was dependent on my results on my results in sports. And this also caused me quite a bit of suffering, guys. And this is one thing I want to really help remove from people's mindset. Yes, your results in sport will make you a more valuable asset to a sporting team, but I truly don't believe that we should bring that into our worth as a human being. Okay. So believing that change is possible. If a student athlete doesn't believe change is possible for them, it makes it much more difficult for them to change because their brain will seek evidence for that. Okay, this is why developing a growth mindset is so important, as I said earlier. So Jen and I truly believe that no skill is fixed. And if we didn't think this, we probably wouldn't be very good at our jobs. We truly believe that no skill is fixed. So whether it's social skills, thinking skills, soccer skills, academic skills, or any other skills, and we believe that if any student athlete truly wants to change their performance anxiety into high performance, they can. And we have seen it happen enough times with the kids we work with, and we have seen this evidence. So I want to jump into a bit of a model for what I've seen and Jen's seen for how performance anxiety works, from just to help you understand from our perspective how we see performance anxiety. So performance anxiety is a fear of a future event. So we don't usually, we don't have it's not generally we have a 2-week vacation to a beach and we're sitting there with performance anxiety, unless there's something that we're afraid of on the beach or whatever, you know what I mean? So when a child or a student athlete has a fear of the future, they got performance anxiety. And when we dive into that and we ask them, well, what are you afraid of? What we usually hear is things like, well, I'm afraid of making mistakes. I'm afraid I will fail. I might not be good enough and we might lose. Something along the lines of that. So this is on the surface. Does this ring a bell with anyone? Does this come to mind to any of you with performance anxiety?
Yeah, you can let us know in the chat.
Yeah.
Maybe you think this frequently. Maybe you've thought it in the past. Maybe not.
Yeah. And so I'll keep going with that. So,
Mhm.
and basically for parents, for now, like if we dive a little deeper into their mind and we ask, well, if that did happen, if one of these did happen, then what are you afraid of? And what we generally come to are things like they're afraid of rejection from their own self-talk or others, fear of judgment, again, self or others, fear of losing love from loved ones. And this is a common one, believe it or not. Fear of not succeeding in the future. So a meaning they've created about, how things might be in the future if they quote unquote fail today or in this event. Fear of losing a loss of validation, also a form of love. Fear of losing identity. So again, for me, when I was boxing, my identity rested on performance. And if I didn't perform in boxing, I didn't feel worthy. Do you think that was a good setting me up to be relaxed going into a boxing match when my self-worth was on the line? Fear of disappointing others. This is common with family. We don't want to disappoint our parents or our coaches and things like that. And fear of the loss of friends sometimes. And we've found it's most commonly a combination of these. Okay. And now if we go even deeper and we ask, what is the cause of these? What keeps people stuck in this? What keeps our student athletes stuck in this? So we find it's really always down to unresourceful belief structures, unresourceful thinking patterns, undeveloped thinking patterns, and a lack of consistent skill building for some. They're just unaware of that. And sometimes it's even parental responses and language. And it's more so back up to the belief or thinking patterns that the child is, the meaning they're bringing to the parental responses. And they're not meaning to do this. And this is not a parent meaning to do anything or a coach meaning to do anything. It's just the way it happens. Okay. Now, in our work together, my goal is to help you, our work is to help you shift unresourceful belief structures, unresourceful thinking patterns, and develop thinking patterns. And for the parents, I'm going to give you a few takeaway tools today in how to respond in a slightly different manner than maybe you already do this, but slightly different manner that can really support performance anxiety, and coaches if there's any watching. So just a fair warning, this next slide's quite intense. It's quite dense material, but I'm really going to walk you through it a few times with some case studies of clients I've worked with. And again, it's just giving you a model to help you understand this, okay? So this is the NLP communication model. It's a model to help you better understand how we perceive reality, and ultimately how our student athletes are perceiving their reality and how we can support their change. So as a human, an external event or something, information comes in from the external world. So it's believed 200 million bits of information is coming to us in every second. That passes through our 5 senses: our sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. We've got our 5 senses, goes into our inner world, and it doesn't necessarily make any sense yet, does it? So we are the meaning makers. We give a meaning to the outside world, okay? So in order to do that, in order to make sense of 2 million bits of information every second, we have to delete, distort, and generalize all that information down. And how do we do that? We do that by filtering it through our beliefs, our values, our language, our decisions, our attitudes, our memories, intentions, and a few other things. And when we do this, we create a filter. It builds an internal representation in our mind of what that means, okay? Of what that means. And okay, so I'm just going to go all the way through this, and then we'll come back around and explain it more. Then from there, that means X, Y, Z. We have an internal representation. We get into an emotional state. It affects our physiology, and then it affects our behavior. Okay. So now I want to tell you about a case study of a student athlete who I worked with some time ago. She had an injury at the beginning of a season, and she began to cycle some negative thoughts and developed very, very bad performance anxiety. So a mistake would happen in soccer. So it's an outside event. It's a mistake, a quote. She labeled this a mistake, right? Because, a thing happened. She didn't get the result she wanted, and an outside event happened. She filtered that through her 5 senses, through her beliefs, and through that, she filtered through that, yeah, and she gave it the meaning. She gave this mistake the meaning that mistakes mean that I'm falling behind, and if I fall behind, I will not achieve my dream, which is to play college D1 soccer. In which case, everything that I've done has been a waste of my time and I have no purpose. So when we truly got into this young girl's mind, this is what she was feeling. So she was representing just a normal mistake that happens in every game, as she won't make it to D1 soccer, and her whole purpose, she's got no purpose, okay? And she created this internal representation of, I've got no purpose, I'm falling behind, and she would feel a sense of panic. And of course she would. She felt like her everything was on the line, right? That would get her tense. She would get really tense in her physiology, and she would end up playing worse because it wasn't, and it would just cycle like that, right? It would just cycle like that. She would play worse because she was tense, then she would get more negative results from that. Okay, and through our work together, we came into this part. Okay, we changed the meaning that she was giving to her mistakes we changed this. In this case, we changed her meaning to mistakes are a learning opportunity. And for some of you here with performance anxiety, you could maybe try this on for yourself. So mistakes are a learning opportunity. They make me better. Mistakes are just one moment in my career, nothing more. And we also spent time on her self-esteem, teaching her how to stop comparing herself to others, and giving her a few sustainability practices. And she was back to her high level self within 7 weeks, totally free of performance anxiety. Okay, and now another case study of a young 11-year-old girl. This is a little bit different. This 11-year-old girl with great parents, by the way, fantastic, beautiful parents. She kept breaking down each game. She would break down crying. And a mistake wouldn't even have to happen in this girl's case. She was break down crying. Now, what was the external information, the external event that this girl had to witness in order to break down crying? So in this girl's case, it was the look on her parents' face. Okay, she would look out onto the sideline, and she would see her parents' face. And this is something we're going to go into, but she would mind read. She would think, she would think she knew what the parents were thinking, and she would filter it through her filters, create an internal representation. And in this girl's situation, one of her filters were she truly believed this, and her parents were beautiful, by the way. She truly believed that if she didn't do her best, her parents didn't love her. Okay, and you imagine what an 11-year-old would do if she truly felt this, and what emotional state that would put her in. So the love from her parents is on the line in this case. And that obviously put her in a tense physiology, and she didn't play very well, and it would cycle like this. Okay. So after several weeks of working together, we worked on the fear of making mistakes, taught her how to learn from her mistakes. We cleared up some other areas, developed her thinking skills, developed her thinking just in general. And 4 weeks into our time together, she opened up to me, and this belief popped up that about her parents not loving her, kind of loving her unconditionally. She based on her parents' facial expressions and the way her parents responded to her. And again, I told you they're great parents, and they were so surprised to hear this when it popped out. And this young girl was crying to me when she opened up about this, and at this point, she was open enough for me to go and take her through a belief change pattern. And we replaced that belief with, my parents love me unconditionally. And we reinforced that. And over a few weeks, that became a self-fulfilling belief for her. And now she truly believes that her parents love her unconditionally, which is the truth, of course. And now she can win, lose, or anything, and she is solid emotionally. Okay. Now, I hope that makes a little bit of sense, and you're starting to get a bit more of an understanding of how we work as human beings. So this is a great model for that. Okay. So what meaning are we giving to things in order for the results we're getting? Okay. So moving on, we're going to work backwards. So when we shift and develop an individual's beliefs, thinking patterns, and thinking skills, we build resourceful belief structures. We build resourceful thinking patterns. We develop our thinking patterns and skills. We consistently build our skills as individuals, as soccer players, and beliefs. And then we add in positive parental responses, which we will discuss a little bit later, which support our student athletes' mindset and their own belief. What we then end up doing is we create a change in their perception. Their perception of reality changes. So the meaning they're giving things begins to change. So we start to develop, ideally, if we can do this right, we can develop an unconditional self-acceptance, or build in that rule in a person, build a strong sense of self. We build trust in one's ability to learn and does the work, one's own ability to learn and does the work to improve. So work ethic, feels a sense of unconditional love from parents and guardians. It's pretty important. Optimistic about the future despite mistakes. Can validate themselves regardless of acceptance from others. stops identifying with their roles and results, which can be a challenge, but it's important. Stops worrying about what others think. So they disidentify from what others think so much, and they build an internal authority, meaning what I think matters the most, and what my parents think matters. But what this kid on my soccer team who said something bad about me, I can question that. Maybe there's something valuable I can learn from, but they're not so identified with what other people think, and develops high performance self-talk too. And then we start hearing things along the lines of mistake. No, I learn from my mistakes. Failure, that's just feedback. I know who I am. This doesn't define me. I am unconditionally worthy, obviously, and I can handle the ups and downs of life because I trust myself and my abilities. And this here is genuine confidence and self-advocacy. And that is how we believe you can turn performance anxiety into high performance. And obviously that's a lot there. And we're just trying, again, today's about planting seeds. And we really want to really invite you to think about this, maybe watch it again, that specific slide earlier, to really be able to take on that understanding of what we're trying to talk about here. So seed number 2, let's jump into seed number 2, self-awareness. So all this is really about, and this is something we're going to work on together in our PDF, is where are you now? We need to get a clear understanding of where you are right now. And then where do you want to be instead? Because if you don't know where you are now and where you want to be, and you don't understand that clearly, we don't know how to bridge that gap. We're just kind of walking around the forest, okay? And then seed number 3 is desire and motivation. And this is kind of connected, because the first part is, have you had enough of where you are now? We're going to go through this today. So we want to identify where you are now. We want to get into a state of, you know what, I've had enough of where I am right now. And I'm guessing that those of you turned up, maybe you have or know someone who has the performance anxiety, and you've had enough. You want to move away from, and we have 2 forms of motivation. We move away from what we don't want, and we move towards what we do want. And ideally what we want is compelling. So we have 2 forms of emotion, energy and motion, motivation, pulling us towards what we want and moving us away from what we don't want. Okay, so we're gonna touch on this in a PDF together in a little bit. And then the final seed is becoming gloriously fallible. And this comes from, well, I heard it from Dr. Michael Hall, the founder of Neurosemantics. And what this means, here's a bit of a definition of this. So gloriously, so doing something in a glorious manner, fallible, capable of making an error. So capable of making a mistake, which is just by the way, student athletes, parents, every human being on the planet, including the world's best of everything, we all make mistakes. And that's, so really becoming gloriously fallible is about making mistakes with glory, being happily imperfect, smiling through failure, quote unquote, failures. And it's really accepting that you are a perfectly imperfect human being who makes mistakes, and that's totally okay. What the best in the world do, right? It's what the best in the world do. So the normal recipe, and this, excuse me for this slide's a little bit messed up, but the normal recipe to become great at anything is this. We make an attempt, we try, we take an attempt at something. We receive a result, and we could label that a mistake, or we can just look at it as a result. It could be we got the result we wanted, or we didn't get the result we wanted, or somewhere in between. But either way, we accept the result. And then we reflect on the result, and we find the learnings and feedback in that result. And the blue there is a part of the coach. It's what the coach does. That if you're working with a coach, Usually the coach is helping you reflect on that result, finding the learnings that you need specifically to help coach you. And you can do that as an individual if I'm talking to a student athlete right now. Then we try again with the applied learnings and feedback. Then we repeat the process, and done over time with consistency, we build genuine competence, right? It's pretty basic formula for becoming good at anything, right? So obviously the consistency, if we say juggling, okay, we're juggling a soccer ball, we try it, we receive a result, we get 10 juggles. We go, okay, I accept the result, because rejecting it doesn't help. But if it's the result I wanted or didn't want, either way, I'm just going to accept it, reflect on it. How did I do that then? How did I get 10 juggles? What can I do differently? Or maybe you just go straight into it and just keep practicing. Find some learnings, apply the learnings. Maybe I need to keep my head up, whatever it is, my hips straighter, whatever it is, apply them learnings, repeat the process, we get a new result, and done consistently over time, we build genuine competence. So to become great, it really comes down to just going through this and consistency in time. Obviously, it's a little bit more complex than that, but essentially that's what it is, isn't it? So the normal recipe for becoming great and having fun doing. So try, receive a result, get the feedback, believe that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback of information. So that really means to me that there's no need to feel bad about any result. So no such thing as a failure, just feedback of information. What's this information telling me? Then we can have fun looking for the learnings in your result. Then enjoy applying the learnings as you try again. Repeat the process, consistency in time, and you'll build genuine competence, right? Pretty basic. Now, let me see if this rings a bell to any of you. This is a common recipe for performance anxiety that Jen and I see. So it's and by the way, I've done this a ton of times in my life, right? So try, receive a result, judge self negatively, and or perceive or receive or perceive negative judgment from others. And what I mean by this is the amount of student athletes I've worked with that feel like their coaches or their parents are judging them negatively. And I did this too. And it's not, and the parent would be like, no, I'm not. I truly just want my kid to be better. But the child is perceiving it to be a negative, right? So they feel a sense of rejection, feel bad, and then they try to avoid mistakes next time. And they feel anxious because they're human beings and they know, we all make mistakes, right? They make mistakes because they are human. They feel bad again. And then they develop a fear of playing. So they know they can't be perfect. And then they suffer and avoid. And sometimes they even quit or give up, right? So this is a common, does that ring a bell to anyone? Hand up, yep. Yeah, it rings a bell to me a little bit, yeah. Right. So yeah, so really the trick is, like, student athletes need permission to make mistakes, right? The student athletes are human beings trying to figure out how to be in this world. Complexity of needing to fit into a family unit in order to feel a sense of love, acceptance, safety, and certainty, while also trying to fulfill the need to individualize and form a stable personality, while also trying to fit in socially, and at the same time trying to perform in school and sports. It's yeah, this can be confusing and challenging, a confusing, challenging time to say the least. And the thing is, adults can unintentionally respond to a child's results in a way that comes across as rejection or takes away love and acceptance. This is so much more common than I think from the best parents in the world, by the way. It's funny how this happens. Even if it's not the truth, if it's perceived to be true, then it will feel true to the student athlete, right? And this you probably all heard this coming from coaches and things like that. But and this is a mix of like, yeah, we want to do our part as adults to the children, but we also want to build up the child's strength to understand that that's not necessarily the coach's thoughts, or the coach in an ideal world, Jen and I feel like a coach could verbalize, hey, you guys are awesome and valuable and incredible human beings. You got to take your soccer to the next level, but I'm holding you to a high standard because I really value you guys. And sometimes when we don't use that language as adults and we say to the kids, hey, what's wrong with you? You played terribly today and you got to take it to the next level. When sometimes kids don't hear that, and they need the verbalization of reminder that, hey, beyond soccer, you're awesome. You're a great human being, right? So it can be as simple as so student athletes can begin to believe that if I don't perform, I won't be accepted and loved. And this could be as simple as saying, hey, what happened to you in this game? Or having a disappointed look on your face when your student athlete didn't perform. And it really often comes down to tonality and body language. So being careful with our tonality and our body language. So by teaching our student athletes that mistakes are a very normal part of their growth process, we give them permission to make mistakes. And by expressing genuine, optimistic, and unconditional belief in them through our words and actions, we help them build their self-belief. We truly believe, hey, you had a bad game, but I truly believe, what can we learn from today? Something like that. So by encouraging our student athletes to non-judgmentally, very important, to look for the lessons in their mistakes and find solutions, help them find solutions, we teach them to accept and embrace mistakes rather than to avoid them. Okay, so we have a workshop in a couple, I think next month or the month after, on overcoming the fear of making mistakes. And we dive deep into this, and it's such an important factor. So non-judgmentally looking for the lessons in their mistakes, or the lessons in your outcome, even if it was good or bad, just what can we find in that? And then help them find solutions. Start finding solutions and really really growing from every quote unquote mistake, every quote unquote failure. So when we act in a way that is non-judgmentally curious instead of frustrated, and by the way, let me give you an example. Non-judgmentally curious instead of frustrated, your student athlete didn't play to their best. They're twice as better today, 10 times better than what they played today. And you're like, what's going on? Instead, if we can get curious and hold a sense of belief and optimism about your student athlete, say, there's something going on with this student athlete, and I'm curious to find out in a non-judgmental way, so I believe in them. You know how good they are. It's just, there's something going on. What's going on? And when we approach that in a non-judgmentally curious way, we not only is that a more resourceful way to approach it, but it also gives the child, it builds a greater sense of rapport and trust for the child to open up to you, for the student athlete to open up and say, hey, to be honest, like, I felt this and this today. And then we want to seek, how to help them figure that out, which is, what we're here doing today. So when we look for and celebrate the good, even in the quote unquote bad games, it's most important to look for the good, even in the worst games, right? In every bad game, could be the worst game you've ever played, you still did some good things, still worth celebrating. When we support them verbally by reminding them that there is always something to learn from a mistake, and that they are still respected, accepted, loved, and worthy as a human being, no matter what result they get. Okay. sometimes that's important to remind our student athletes, even when they're, especially when they're a bit emotional after a game or something. When we do this, we begin to plant the seeds for them to become gloriously fallible. So we begin to allow them to make mistakes faster and learn faster. And when we do that, when a student athlete can fearlessly continually make mistakes, learn from it, make mistakes, learn from it, we speed up their growth process. We don't hold them back from trying, because if they're afraid to make mistakes, then what they do is they avoid and they don't try, as they hold themselves back, they hesitate. But we just want to give ourselves permission to just to be able to fail. It's okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move into the PDF, and I'm going to pop that in the chat. Stop sharing my screen.
I've got it if you want me to put it in there.
Sure.
Okay.
And everyone can just download this PDF. We're going to go through this together. Play with this. And any questions regarding what we just went through? It's probably a lot to take on. But yeah, I definitely think that's a valuable thing to play with. Okay, so yeah, so what I'm going to do is, does anyone here suffer with performance anxiety and would like to sort of play with me here? Quinn, do you have trouble with performance anxiety?
How about this? Because I think it's important that we get volunteers for this. So we're going to take someone through this PDF.
Yep.
And do a little bit of live coaching. Luke will just ask you some questions as we go through this PDF. Does anyone want to volunteer?
Yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Quinn.
Okay, we've got one potential volunteer. Miss Caitlin, would you like to come up? Yes. Okay. I'm just really big on, I don't like being put on the spot personally. So I like to make sure I don't put anyone on the spot and I have a willing volunteer.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay, great. So what should we do? Should we have Caitlin unmute herself, or do I need to unmute you?
I think we can have her unmute.
Good. Okay, great. And then
Cool.
are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share my screen. So, okay, so Caitlin, so what we're going to do is go through this little PDF here. And this is the present state, desired outcome, and bridge PDF. Okay, so we're going to just get our student athletes, and really I want to demonstrate what you can do as a parent of a student athlete to support your student athlete. You can maybe go through these with them, or if you're a student athlete, you can take yourself through it. Ideally, you'd have someone else take you through it. But basically, we're going to get the symptoms and what you feel the causes are right now. And this is where you are right now. This is the present state that you're moving away from. Okay. Then we're going to figure out what it is you want. What specifically do you want? And then we're going to figure out how to bridge the gap. And really, bridging the gap is what Jen and I's focus is in these workshops over the next, all our workshops. We're aiming to bridge the gap for you. But we need to get clear on where we are now and where we want to go. So, Caitlin, so you've been experiencing some performance anxiety?
Yes.
Okay. Has that been recently?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So what specific symptoms are you currently or have you been experiencing recently?
Like disappointing my family or like my teammates.
So have you been disappointing your family and teammates? Or is it so symptoms? So So I'm guessing that's what you feel like. So can I just tell me if I'm wrong here? Are you fearing disappointing your family and teammates?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of that? Okay. So that we would put that here. So afraid of disappointing my family and teammates. Is that right? Okay, so that's one of the causes that we feel. So when you feel afraid of disappointing your teammates, what happens for you? What do you experience?
Yeah, like what do you feel in your body when when you're feeling that fear, for example, or when you're thinking about the fear of that disappointment?
Kind of like an empty feeling, because like that's the last thing like I want to do is like disappoint like
Mm-hmm.
my family or like my teammates, because
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So you get an empty feeling. Is it empty feeling in your stomach here? Your stomach? Or is that just in your whole body?
mostly like just in my stomach.
Okay, and when does this happen? Does it happen after a game, before a game, during a game? When specifically does it happen?
Mostly like before games, like going into a game.
Before games. So is it like an hour before the games? Just going into the game, running out of the game?
Like probably like an hour before,
Okay,
like going like the car ride to the game.
cool. So
Yeah.
car ride to the game and then up until the game starts kind of thing.
Mhm.
Till the game. Okay, cool. And tell me, what is this? What does this cause you? What other things does this cause you to does it lessen your performance in soccer? What else happens from this? Why do you want to get rid of this? Tell me what's going on.
It sometimes distracts me from my game.
So that it distracts you. So it distracts me from my game sometimes. Okay. Any other things any other symptoms you're experiencing? So symptoms could be anything from your feelings, what it's
Sensations in the body.
sensations, what it's causing. Anything else pop up for you? What symptoms you're currently experiencing?
When like getting in my head be one.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting in your head, in my head. And when does this happen? Where does it again, does it happen before, in the game, during the game, after the game? When specifically?
Mostly during the game and after.
Getting in my head during the game and after the game.
Yeah.
Cool. After the game. Cool. Okay. And is that pretty clear for you, or is there more symptoms that you experience?
Yeah.
There is more?
No, that's it.
Okay. And can I just ask, does this cause further, does it cause frustration, stress, anything else beyond that?
Stress.
Some stress? Okay. Okay. And does the stress happen when does the stress happen mostly?
Like after the game.
Yeah. Okay. Stress after the game. Cool. So parents, this is, if you're doing this with your student athlete, this is we can save this, and then in the future, you could go and ask them, once you've done some work on it, you could go and ask them and go, well, are you still feeling this, and this? And they'll be like, oh, I'm not feeling that. Well, you've made some progression, right? So, so what do you think are causing these symptoms? What do you think are the cause of these symptoms? What are you thinking about to cause this? So you already mentioned, I'm afraid of disappointing my family and teammates. Is that what else? Anything else come up for you, Kellen?
Like afraid of making mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And what do mistakes mean to you, Michaela?
Like messing up with the ball, getting the ball taken away, and like
Yeah,
not getting
Yep.
his like
Yeah.
gaining.
Yeah. Yeah. So So that's what a mistake looks like for you, just messing up the ball. Yeah. And then when you make a mistake, is this what it means to you? You're disappointing your family and teammates?
Sometimes like that's in my head because if I make a mistake and then sometimes like the first instinct is, oh my God, that was awful or bad or whatever. And then
Mhm.
it goes to, oh my God, my parents are probably like disappointed in me or my teammates are probably mad at me for making that or something.
Mm, okay.
So it sounds like self-judgment in there. And
Yeah.
then,
Okay. Self-judgment.
Yeah.
And
so
and-
normal, by the way, so normal, been in your shoes.
yeah.
And I know how high your standards are for yourself.
So you're saying to yourself, oh my God, that was so awful and bad when you make a mistake. And then and what did you say towards the end there, by the way? Oh my God, my teammates, something about your teammates or your parents?
Yeah, like once I make a mistake, like first I'll get in my head like saying like that was like bad or awful, and then I'll
Mhm.
go to like my team or my parents and being like, oh my God, they're probably mad at me for making that mistake, or like my parents are probably like disappointed in me for not playing like my best or something, or making that
Mm,
mistake.
okay. So they're probably disappointed. Yeah. I'm disappointed. Cool.
And I'm curious, I pretty much know the answer because we've worked with you in the past, but like what percentage of this would you say is skill level and like competence for you? Like on a scale of 0 to 100%, how much of like a lack of skill might be driving this like fear of making mistakes or fear of messing up? Is that a part of this at all for you or not really?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. How much, what percentage on a scale of 0 to 100%? 100 being like it's the primary cause of it, 0 being none.
I would say like 40%.
Okay.
Is so you're messing up. So when you say this, because I want to, so I know, because I know you fairly well. You don't really slack off on your skill work, right?
Mm.
You're pretty awesome. How much of this is you holding yourself to such a high standard that you think you should be way better? But it's dad's nodding his head. There you go. Okay, so how much of this? So Caitlin, if you're being real with yourself, so holding self to high standard, is that a yes from you
Yeah.
too? Okay. And is this standard, what standard is it that you hold yourself to? Who are you comparing yourself to, Karen? Because and just like I want to let you know, so you're not the only one in this. I used to, as an amateur boxer, compare myself to the best boxers ever to exist, and I felt bad about myself. Is that what you're doing?
Most likely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, Caitlin, is doing this is your present state, right? This is what you've been doing. How's that working out for you?
Not very good.
Okay. Is that helping you get to achieve your outcome that you really want to achieve?
No.
Is this resourceful?
Mm,
Do you want to keep it?
no.
Do you want to keep doing this?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
How motivated are you to not to move away from this?
I'm very motivated.
Are you sure? Okay. Okay. So what is it that you want instead, Caitlin?
Like to not be in my head. No.
Okay, so to not be in your head. If you're not in your head, what are you doing? That's one thing. Parents, don't let them trick you with telling you, I don't want to hold myself to a higher standard. That's still we want to be focusing on what you do want. Tell me in terms of your standard, what do you want to be holding yourself to, Caitlin?
A little like lower because I'm comparing myself to a pro soccer player.
Yep.
So to be able to like reach the next level, maybe I have to like lower it. So maybe like so I reach up to the next level and then I'll reach up to the next one after that, and then maybe I'll reach up to that pro level,
Yeah.
like taking it step by step instead of just forcing myself to go and skip all that.
Okay. So because I just want to yeah. So is there someone specific that you compare yourself to right now?
Messi.
Yes, I was thinking of him during this whole conversation.
Okay, so Caitlin, I so you want to compare yourself in more like steps and stages, right?
Yeah.
Because have you got videos of Messi when he's 16 like you are? Because maybe that would be a more accurate comparison. But also I wouldn't even compare yourself to that, but even that would be a pretty high level comparison, because you know you're looking at a male football, but even that would be better than what you're currently doing, right? So so would you say would you say a more accurate comparison, or like what would you say? Compare myself in steps and stages, or what?
Yeah, compare myself like to like the step and stages.
Yeah, so
Okay,
so would it be accurate to say like compare yourself to the level just above, or maybe one or two above where you're at right now along the spectrum of where you're going?
Yeah.
Okay. So myself to just above. So this is kind of getting a bit of a bridge already above where I am.
And by
Okay,
the way,
so-
everyone, we're going to run a little bit over. So if you need to hop off, no worries.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so just wanted to offer you that. We will send the replay to you if you do need to leave and you're short on time.
Yeah.
Caitlin, are you okay to continue for a few extra minutes?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
So we're just going to run through this. And of course we can add to this later on, but this is good. So, so to compare yourself to a little bit above where you went. So now what does that look, sound, and feel like? So how will you know when you're doing this, comparing yourself in a resourceful way? So that's a really good question for you. So how will you know when you're doing it? I'm sure you'll feel different to this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how-
Feeling like less stressed on myself instead of like in my head of like, oh, I'm not able to do that yet because I'm not at that level, instead of taking it step by step and like
Okay.
having a positive mind of saying like, oh, I'll reach up to that one day, but I'm taking it like step by step.
Positive mind. Yeah.
I will
And
do-
so you say you'll feel less stressed. What else will you feel? If you're less stressed, what will you feel more of?
More confident.
I will feel more confident. Good.
What will be your experience of being in the car? Like when you get in the car and you're on your way to your practices or your games, when you otherwise would have been feeling, differently. How will you feel now? What do you want then?
Like on the car rides, like I usually like have my like headphones on, whatever, but instead of like usually I just like sing along whatever in my head, but like now I'm probably gonna go in my head of like, all right, mistakes are okay, and like just again with the positive mind.
Like, how do you want to feel? Because earlier,
Love
Yes.
that too.
Yeah.
So good. And how
Like,
will you feel too while you're doing that?
Sorry.
Relaxed.
Relaxed. So that's how you'll feel. So relaxed, and you mentioned confidence. So on the way to games, will you feel relaxed and confident?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And focused on, hey, it's okay to make mistakes.
Mhm.
Hey, it's okay to make mistakes.
proud of yourself.
Mm.
Okay, so cool. So we could obviously go into a bit more depth than this, but for lack of time, I just want to move on to the next one. So now looking at this, these are the outcomes you want. Now, do you really want this, Caitlin?
Yes.
Would this serve you?
Yes.
Would this serve you a lot more than this?
Yes.
So you sure you don't want to do it the old way? You can keep doing it the old way if you want, or you'd like to move towards the new way.
I would like to do the new way.
Okay, cool. So I say that to try to remember the seed number 2 motivation. We're trying to push her away from the old way and move her towards the new way. So we really want to make this as compelling as possible. And Caitlin, I will probably set you some homework after this to really think about this. And I want you to create a clear vision in your mind of what the most successful outcome, the highest version of you as an athlete would look like. Because the highest version of you isn't being messy at 16. I think it's giving yourself a sustainable opportunity to become messy. And that's going to require you allowing yourself to turn up, as I said, make the mistakes, be fallible, and make more mistakes faster and learn from them, right?
Mhm.
That's how you're going to get to messy quicker. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
judging yourself, not doing this old way. That doesn't help us get to become messy. I
Mhm.
truly believe in you 100%. And I believe it, but we've got to take the brakes off, which is what you've been doing. Okay.
Yeah.
So now coming down to resources. Now we've given you a few resources or ideas for resources to help you bridge this gap from where you are now to where you want to be. Now, Caitlin, would giving yourself permission to make mistakes, would that help you achieve this outcome?
Yes.
Cool. So would having permission to make mistakes from your parents, guardians, and coaches, would that help you?
Yeah.
The parents and coaches. Now, Dad, do you give Caitlin permission to make some mistakes and learn from them?
Absolutely.
Cool. So Caitlin, sometimes it's okay to ask for verbal permission. It might sound funny, but and your parents are probably like, "What are you talking about? Of course, you're a human. You're meant to make some mistakes, right?" So, but sometimes it's nice for us to hear verbal permission, right? So, do you know? And we just did this the other day. So, knowing how to learn from my mistakes so they can help me improve, would that help you move to this, bridge the gap?
Yes.
Okay. And have you been doing this?
Yeah.
Cool. So believing that no matter what results I get, I'm still worthy, valuable, and accepted, would this support you in bridging the gap?
Yes.
Cool. Believing that I can learn any skill I want to and taking the time to to work on it, would that help you bridge the gap?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And notice taking the time to because that's becoming messy is I'm just messing with you. So practicing specific skills more frequently to increase my confidence and therefore my confidence. Now, for you, knowing you, I know you do a high amount of practice. Maybe that's not the answer for you to bridge this gap because you already do a fair bit. What do you think? Maybe it is. I don't know. What's your you think?
Could always use more extra practice.
Well, within reason. Within reason, because I do want to warn that one of the case studies I spoke about earlier, the girls I was sporting, this girl, she's so intense that, and she was kind of so like, I need to catch up. She would train so hard. This is what she told me. Oh, I usually have a day off when I can't really walk. Like that's how intense. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So we, and that's why I had to teach her sustainability practices because that's not sustainable. And she ends up getting injuries. Okay. So maybe half and half of this. Now,
Well,
for
quick
you,
question.
Yep.
When you are practicing, Caitlin, on your own, I know you do so much of it. When you do mess up or make a mistake on your own, what is your reaction to that when you're on your own? Is it similar to what you experience when you make it in practice in a game, or different and you're not as hard on yourself?
It's sometimes different because sometimes I am like hard on myself. I get like frustrated, but other times I just grab the ball again and keep doing it.
Great. So I'm wondering if, as you continue to do all the awesome practicing you're doing, if you could bring in a bit more awareness to the moments when that pattern wants to pop up of like self-judgment, beat myself up, and then everything else that typically happens. If you can begin to bring awareness to it and then shift that 1% more every single time you show up and train.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And now, being able to outthink your fears, Caitlin,
Yeah.
that would help. Being able to get into and stay into the zone, would that be supported?
Yeah.
Cool. And having higher quality self-talk, that would support it. Now, anything for you, if you're being real with me here, what else might help you bridge this gap in your mind? Any ideas?
Not that I can think of now.
Okay. Dad, you got any ideas? We can bridge the gap. Some way,
I do like, I mean, I don't know if it's stuff that you've already introduced to her, but the
Yep.
Relaxation tapes or motivational speakings.
yeah,
Hmm.
lots of lots of good, lots of good ideas and thoughts in that. Yep, good. Now, can I offer one, Caitlin, that I think is going to be valuable, and maybe we can do a little bit of work on this in the future, is we want to,
Actually,
Hmm.
have another one.
just wondering if I'll bring that up.
You thought of another one?
Well, one that you actually emphasized also, I was always a firm believer on visualization, like
Yeah.
just kind of, and visualizing. I mean, it's okay. You can have a mistake in your visualization as well.
Yep.
You're kind of going through everything, and I mean, life's not perfect.
So would this be visualization, even of when you make a mistake and then sort of
Correct. And how you're
moving
going to
through it?
correct, and then what you're going to do to correct that mistake. So if
Yeah.
you turn the ball over, your visualization is going to be to stand there and not do anything, or to get back into the play or do something like
Yeah.
not just the visualization of, okay, I made that great pass, I kept going, and they passed the ball back to me, I shot and I scored.
Yep.
So instead of everything working out perfectly, there's going to be other scenarios that you can work through possibly in your head as well.
Yes. So working through all possible scenarios. Yeah. So so really yeah, so that's a great one. Yeah, that's an awesome one. So
So
there's
out of all
Yep.
of these, I'm wondering, oh, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I am curious to help in wrapping it up.
Yep.
Which is like the top one that Caitlin would like to take with her and focus on over this next month, for example.
I the first one.
this one.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so let's start with that. So in finally, so what can you do, Caitlin, moving forward to make this real in your life? What can you do to make this real in your life? Because I feel like you've got all the information, you know how to do this. What can you do to really embody this?
To apply the tools during the games and like
Yeah.
to have a positive mind instead of being so negative on myself.
Okay, and how would you do that? What does that look like?
Like just self-talk during the games, like after a mistake,
Yep.
instead of like messing up and just standing there waiting for like my teammate to come help or like
Yeah.
whatever to happen. Instead, I can just erase that mistake and go right after the ball.
Amazing. Now, can I just add, I think exactly what you said is amazing. And then do a bit of what your dad said outside of games and think through exactly what you just said, imagining a mistake happening and how are you going to speak to yourself, and imagine yourself speak to yourself. How can I get back up and just go back into performing? So doing that visualization practice that your dad mentioned, it sounds like a brilliant idea, which is basically what you said, but you get to visualize it as well, which is doing some repetitions.
And you
Right.
can potentially, if you resonate more with writing things out, like I love to write things, I get a lot from that. You can experiment with that as well. You might be surprised what else you come up with through the writing process of your reaction to making mistakes and how you want to go about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
Caitlin, loved going through this with you. You rock.
Yeah. So yeah, check back in with us, Caitlin, on how you're moving through with that. And how you're working on that. Let us know how you go.
Yes, someone in the comments just thanked you for volunteering, Caitlin. So brave. So good.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah, is there any questions related to anything we've spoken about today, or any questions in general for everyone? How was that?
Yeah, I would say if you have questions that put them into the chat, and what we'll do is we will answer them, because I know we're already over 13 minutes. We will do our best to answer them in videos that we put up on our YouTube, on social media, to help you as best we can. So put them into the chat. Of course, you can email them to us as well. We'll send the replay out most likely tomorrow. Otherwise, biggest takeaways from parents and athletes on the call, would you put them into the chat? Like, what was your biggest learning or your biggest takeaway that you're going to focus on over this next week?
Or yeah, put it in the
Or-
chat, or if you want to unmute and just share with us, you can
that too.
just maybe put your hand up, so we don't have everyone doing it at the same time. Way. So biggest takeaway, and how are you going to make this real in your life, this takeaway?
Yeah, take your time. I know for me, it takes me takes me a bit of time to come up with my takeaways. Yeah, go ahead, Quinn.
I learned that I truly need to let myself make mistakes and be okay with it.
Yeah, love that. I wish when I was your age, I had that learning. So that's going to help you so much. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
1% better every day. Okay. That's your focus. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, if anyone else wants to unmute, feel free. Sometimes it's easier than chatting. I mean, typing.
True.
So Caitlin said, how to get to the next step will not be getting in my head after a mistake. Also have more of a positive mind. Cool. So we'll keep building on that, Caitlin.
Love that. Great.
And I think giving yourself a few years to become messy might be a valuable thing. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. And Miller said, that's lots of people are feeling what I'm feeling, and I can Miller said that lots of people are feeling what I'm feeling, and I can learn to change my mindset little by little. Yes. I love that. Yeah. It's very,
you are not alone.
yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it's the baby steps. I love that that's one of your takeaways. So true, because in my experience, and similar to Caitlin, it's like, you know where you are. Well, we got clear on where you are, and then you kind of know where you want to be with your goals, or, where you want to be far into the future. And you're like, okay, yep, I should be there right now. Should, have the mindset I want to have the confidence I want to have right now. And the reality is, it really takes time, and it takes coming to these workshops, and it takes applying the tools, and little by little, you will get it and you will improve. So I encourage you to look for those little improvements and celebrate yourself along the way. Those little moments are so important to celebrate yourself. Okay. All right. We're so grateful you all came and spent part of your Sunday night with us. We hope you'll be able to come to one of our workshops that we're doing later in the year. We actually have a second one happening in February, so in a few weeks, on performance anxiety. So hopefully we'll see you there. If we can ever help you in any way, we do work with Student Athletes 101, and we have group programs that are awesome coming up this summer. So if you ever want extra support or more information, you can always reach out to us. Sending you all so much love. And Luke, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, no, just like Jen, thanks so much for spending some of your day with us today. We really do appreciate you all for coming. And yeah, we hope you could take some valuable things from today and apply to make your life a little better. Right. and perform
So
well
great.
and even become messy one day, maybe.
That's right. Absolutely. Woo!
Awesome.
All right. Mwah. Bye, everyone.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good night.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Welcome.
Quinn. Bye.